What you guys got another video on free malware removal methods that actually work in 2025. So here we have a Windows 11 system. If your system is infected with malware or viruses or whatever it is that it's infected with, then we're going to show you some of the steps you can take to try and remove the infection from that PC. Now it's important to remember not all computer infections are the same. Some are ransomware, which will encrypt your hard drive, which is going to make it virtually impossible to recover your data unless you paid a ransom. Now, there's different types of malware. There's viruses, there's Trojans, there's rootkits, there's all different types of infections. If you suspect your system is infected, isolating it first is a good thing to do. Disconnecting from the internet to isolate the infection on the system is a definite must. Now, some people might tell you to boot into safe mode. The problem with the safe mode method is when you just go into safe mode like I'm showing you right here, this can stop a lot of malware from calling home and accessing the internet, which can restrict a lot of it from running correctly the way it's meant to do with internet access. So yes, isolating the internet connection is a good thing to do, but unfortunately it does restrict what you can actually do once you get into safe mode. The problem is, once you're into safe mode with no internet, you're not going to be able to download any applications. And some people don't have secondary computers to be able to download all of their favorite software to run on the system. So why is safe mode helpful? Well, safe mode loads only essential system drivers and services. This means that many malware types don't run in safe mode. Malicious processes and auto start entries are often disabled, making them easier to delete. Security tools like antivirus or anti-malware scanners can run with less interference, but most of these are cloud-based scanners and they will need internet access to be able to effectively remove malware from the system. But safe mode is not perfect. Some modern malware can detect safe mode and prevent the system from booting into it. And some persistent malware will restart itself as soon as you boot back into normal mode at the desktop. So disconnecting from the internet can keep your system safe, but also you will need to run scans that are in offline mode. Microsoft Defender offline scan can help, but it's not perfect, and you will need to reconnect to the internet at some point. And if you've got a really severe infection, this can cause major problems. Now, removing temporary internet files can be helpful. It deletes harmful leftovers from malware that may have dropped into certain locations on the computer. It will also remove installers and also scripts and any sort of cached files in those locations in the temporary internet files. It's going to remove a lot of that stuff. But remember, the payload has already been released into the computer, so these files might be non-running. They may be just sitting there dormant because they've done their damage. If they are running and they are causing an issue, then cleaning them out will help alleviate a lot of the system resources that are being used, and this can slow down virus scans on the PC. So while temporary file cleaning does not remove most of the malware, because most modern malware doesn't rely solely on temporary folders anymore, and even if it drops somewhere there, it's usually also in other places like the system directories and program data and registry run keys and scheduled tasks and things like that. So just bear in mind that it's not always in these same locations. You do need to be a bit more advanced if you're going to be going down this route and using this method. This is why I'm pointing it out in this video at the very beginning, because a lot of people are told to disconnect from the internet, go straight into safe mode and start manually removing malware. But it's quite difficult if you don't know where to look and what you're removing from the PC. But you definitely want to run the disk cleanup tool a little bit later on once you started to remove malware from the system, or this will remove any remnants that are left behind. Now, uninstalling programs is a must, especially if it's adware and spyware. These are potentially unwanted programs, PUPs for short, and you can remove these from the computer. These are generally PC optimizers, browser extensions, and other fake utilities that you download and install on your system. These can cause redirects, pop-ups, and make scans really difficult. So look inside your programs and features area and uninstall applications that are not familiar to you, which are malicious, maybe pups, and you can get rid of all of these. But real malware is not going to be located inside here, and it's going to be somewhere inside your system, and it's not going to be in this location. And this is much more severe and much more problematic to remove. But these are for adware and other potentially unwanted programs. And these are the most common. Also, going into File Explorer, click the three dots and go to folder options. You want to go to view here, and you want to show hidden files, folders and drives, and take the check mark out of hide extensions, because you want to be able to see what these files are, because malware is very clever at disguising itself. So normally inside here, program data, if you don't know what you're doing here, manually going around the system like this can be very dangerous. So you need to know what you're looking for. If you're not familiar with dealing with nasty malware, then I would advise you to stick with just general scanning of the computer with certain types of software, because what will happen is sometimes you will find files that are located in a location, and as soon as you delete it and boot the PC back up, it will recreate itself. And it's really difficult to remove some of these problematic malware from the computer. But you can remove files from the temporary directory here, delete all of these files. They will recreate once you boot the system back to the desktop if it's a genuine program. But if they are leftovers from malware or malware that is residing in these locations, it will remove them. But unfortunately, they can be listed down the bottom, and they can be just about anywhere on the PC. So you're going to need to know what you're doing if you're going to be rooting around your system manually and finding stuff in these locations, because there's more to malware than just the locations you'll see right here. But these are the common locations they do hide, but there's many other locations they can be on the PC. So it's probably more beneficial to you to scan with antivirus programs, and it just depends on how severe the infection is on that PC. So a lot of scanners, like I said, running from safe mode is not fruitful for you, because some of these are cloud-based scanners and they're not going to be effective in safe mode with no internet access. It's not going to allow you to run scans from here. So what is more beneficial is to use this time to back up your precious data and basically run scans from another environment. And I'll show you how to do that next. So from here in the system configuration, we're going to boot back up into normal mode here. And what we're going to do is use a rescue disk, Kaspersky, or you can use Norton or any of the other antivirus program rescue disks to run a scan on the system from a safer environment rather than booting up to the desktop. If you don't know how to create a bootable USB drive or even a CD DVD, if you use those still, it shows you how to do that on the Kaspersky Rescue Disk website. It shows you where to download the ISO from and how to create a bootable USB flash drive, so you can then boot to it and run a full scan with internet access. And this method is going to be a lot safer because you're not booting the computer to the desktop where malware will be running on the system. You're basically booting to a safe environment like safe mode with internet access and be able to run a deep scan on the system using Kaspersky Rescue Disk or one of the other options that are out there. There's plenty of them out there. It doesn't really matter which one you use. I think Kaspersky is probably going to be your best option, and this can remove a lot of the stuff from the PC before you get to the desktop again. And this will lighten the load and allow you to download and install other software and run secondary scans on the system. So it's essential that you run this particular scan first. So let's take a look at the actual software itself. Now, of course, you are going to need to have another computer to be able to download this and to be able to create a bootable USB flash drive. This method of scanning is way more effective than going into safe mode. So this is your go-to option, which you should be using. It can detect rootkits and other deeply embedded malware on the system. These files are normally often invisible to you and also protected by the actual infection itself. So when it's active and running at the desktop of your computer, it's going to be difficult to remove these in that environment. In this environment, it makes it a lot more easier to remove these really nasty infections. So this has a strong detection engine. Kaspersky scanner is known as a high detection rate, and it also handles a lot of many modern day threats. And it's probably one of the best removal tools out there on the market, and probably one of the best antivirus programs out there on the market today. So this is something I would advise people do first before they even get to the desktop with an internet connection. The big problem that people face when they're at home trying to clean an infection off their PC is they download an antivirus program off the internet. The malware will block it, and it will block it from running, and it will cause all sorts of problems. Running it from this environment is the safest and easiest way to remove the bulk of the malware that's running on that PC. Now, it may not catch every type of malware, no tool does, but what this does is it lightens up the load on the system and allows you to get to the desktop and clean up the rest of the infections with secondary scanners. Now, you can always navigate to your actual C drive, and you can then download your tools from this environment if you're being blocked from your desktop. From here, you can download Malwarebytes, Hitman Pro, any other type of tool that you want to use to remove any sort of infection from the desktop. These are useful once we've got them downloaded here, because we can drop them onto our desktop of our infected computer. And of course, the malware won't be able to stop these because we are downloading them from the actual internet from this safe environment. So you can choose whatever programs you want to run on your system. There's quite a few to choose from. It depends on the types of infections that you've got. But if you're familiar, normally running programs like Hitman Pro, Malwarebytes, ESET Online Scanner, MCSoft has a tool that you can run on the system. And basically, it should remove all of the malware that is left behind after you've run this initial scan with Kaspersky. Kaspersky is pretty powerful and should remove the bulk of the malware on the system and leave a lot of remnants and broken files behind on the PC. And you can then run your cleanup tools and secondary scan tools to make sure there's no remnants left behind. So these are what I would do right here. I would download these through this method and drop them onto the PC. Or you can download them from another computer and put them on a USB flash drive and basically drag them on from there. It's entirely up to you how you go about doing this, but you can see we're dragging these onto the PC. Once we shut this down and reboot the PC, all of the malware inside Kaspersky Rescue Disk will be removed and deleted. So what we're going to do now is shut down the PC and remove the USB flash drive and boot back to the desktop for the first time. Now we've removed a lot of the malware. It should be a lot more easier to navigate on your PC without a lot of stuff running. If you're still seeing pop-ups and you're still seeing nasty infections popping up on the system that is stopping you from doing things, kill them all is an option which will kill all of the known processes running on the system and allow you to then run scans on your PC. rkill is another option that you can use, which will kill these persistent processes that might have restarted themselves for some apparent reason because Kaspersky missed it, and it's stopping you from running scans or doing anything on your browser. Running these tools will kill these processes off. As you can see here, it's asking us to run this as administrator. So let's go ahead and click A to run kill them all as admin, and it will basically kill all of the processes on this system. So let's quickly do this right here. You can use rkill if you want to as well, and I'll show you rkill in a second. But when I push enter here, you'll see a lot of the processes will be stopped in their tracks. And then you can go ahead and start to run your scanning software. So let's quickly do that right here. This is the box that's popping up right here. You can see I can press any other key to start. So let's go ahead and do that right here by pressing enter. And you'll see a big long list of processes that have been terminated, like so. And that's it. We've now terminated those. And if you're experiencing issues, you can run the program again, but most of these should have been shut down and closed. What you can do now is run your scanning software and remove any nasty remnants on the system. rkill is pretty much the same thing, but we're just going to open up a program here like this one. Because we have internet access now, we're going to set this up and download all of the updates and get scans done on here. This will be secondary scans that you can run on the PC. Let me quickly show you rkill. rkill also terminates malware processes right here. You can see it hasn't found any services on the system running. It hasn't found any processes that are running that are malicious, and it hasn't found any registry keys that are running that are malicious. Process Explorer can be your best friend when you're trying to remove nasty infections, and also auto runs is another must-have for advanced users, but it is very useful to find malware that's persistent and still on the system here, and you can then remove it. Right click on it and remove it from the PC and stop it from booting up every time you boot the PC up and kill that process. It terminates it right here, as you can see here. Very useful programs. These are for more the advanced users, I would say, rather than just your general home user that is not used to this sort of stuff. So, but it is useful to have a good look and find any malicious stuff that might be left running. It might even be just traces of malware that's left behind that aren't running on the system, but you can remove it. It's important to use programs like Process Explorer to see if there's any real malicious programs running in here, and they will be visible here and you'll be able to see them. And if they are, then you can terminate them or suspend them and deal with them as well. And this is a simple case of right clicking on a process, kill process tree, or suspend. You can see it's been suspended and it will stop it from running. And that's pretty much it. Like I said, it's important to run programs like Hitman Pro. This will find remnants that are left behind or any other persistent stuff that's on the system. It will also remove any pups from the PC. These are potentially unwanted programs. These are very problematic, and sometimes people download applications off the internet to do optimization or to do driver updates and things like this, and it can cause problems. So just running a quick scan with something like this will obviously remove a lot of this stuff from the PC. Kaspersky has done the bulk of the work for you. You're just doing secondary scans with these just to make sure there's nothing left behind on the system. And now would be a good time, once you've cleaned all of this up, is to run your temporary internet file cleaner programs to clean any sort of junk out of those areas after you've cleaned the system thoroughly. You can also run scans with Malwarebytes. Be careful when you're installing Malwarebytes. It is going to try to install it as an antivirus program. So if you already have an antivirus program in there, then you probably want to avoid installing this as an actual full-blown antivirus, because you'll end up with two antivirus programs. You only ever need one on the system. If you install more than one, you're going to end up causing yourself a lot of problems. So just use this as a secondary scanner, install it and run a scan. You can opt out of the full-blown antivirus suite by just going up to the top and basically using it as just a free option. It has installed this as a trial version for 14 days. As you can see, it has installed this as a full-blown antivirus program, but there's no antivirus program on this system, so it's perfectly fine. And after you've run this, you can even run programs like ESET Online Scanner, which is an online scanner which you can run. It does need an internet connection to run properly, but this will also find any nasty malicious stuff on the system. It's important that you use different types of scanning software, because some might not detect certain types of infections, whereas this might have a better definition database and pick up those remnants that are left behind, or those particular files that have been missed. And you can do a full scan here, and you can detect potentially unwanted applications, which is also advisable. How many scans should you do? Well, I would say at least do that Kaspersky one at the beginning and run Malwarebytes and maybe something like this as well, just to make sure. Hitman Pro is not going to hurt. It won't take long to do, and it's worth to be safe than sorry with these particular nasties being left on the system, because they can restart up again if you don't get rid of them properly. Now, once your system is clean, it's important to remove all of your system restore points. I've seen people even recommending that people use system restore to basically revert back to a time when the system was working properly. Unfortunately, I would not advise doing this because this can cause a lot of problems. You can see system restore is turned on and it is working. I would delete all of the system restore points here just in case you have any sort of old system restore points in there that have malware in them. This will clean them all out and then create a nice new clean one saying clean, so you know you've got a good clean working system restore to go back to. Now you've cleaned up all of your system. Also, it's important to make sure your browser is not infected in any way, shape or form with add-ons or any sort of redirects. I would advise you to reset your browser back to factory defaults, and you can see it wants to put the Malwarebytes browser attachment on here. But just check all your extensions and remove all of those. And I would come in here and I would reset the browser back to default settings and remove all of the redirects that might happen on here. You can see it's updated. Make sure you're fully updated on your browser. If it's another type of browser like Firefox or Chrome, you can always uninstall it and reinstall it again. Edge, unfortunately, you can't uninstall on some PCs in some countries. Clear all your browsing history and data. Go in here and definitely remove all of this stuff of all time and then reset it. That's what I'd advise you to do. And hopefully this should get rid of anything that's left inside your browser. Now, I can honestly say that getting heavily infected in Windows 11 is pretty much a thing of the past, but I just wanted to bring this to your attention. If your system is heavily infected, it probably means that you've disabled a lot of the security features in Windows 11. It's advisable to leave these running and have these on because this deals with a lot of nasty malware and stops your system from getting infected. Because believe it or not, Windows 11 is one of the most secure operating systems that Microsoft have ever released to date. So if you use all of the security features that are with Windows 11, you should stay safe and you should have a pretty clean system most of the time. Maybe a bit of adware now and again, but you can easily deal with that sort of infection. If you're still having issues at this stage, then I'd advise you to reinstall Windows. Back all your data up and reinstall Windows because you may be having some nasty infection. Make sure you use the cloud download and not the local reinstall because you don't want to use any files that are on your system. This will download fresh files from the internet, from Microsoft, and do a fresh install of your system using the reset this PC feature. If this doesn't work, then you can create a bootable USB flash drive with Windows on it and completely wipe the whole system that way and reinstall Windows that way. Once you've backed all your data up, it's important that you remember to back all your data up before you do anything like this on your PC. And for some people, this is peace of mind. This is the only way you'll know 100% that all of them nasties have been removed from your PC by completely reinstalling Windows. By not doing it, you'll never know whether there was something that got by your scanning software, maybe 0-day malware or something like that. You have to be super careful, and maybe this will give you peace of mind. Reset all your passwords for your accounts. If you use banking on here, I would advise you to reset all your passwords just in case you've got some sort of password stealer on your system or something like that. Anyway, with that said, my name has been Brian from briteccomputers.co.uk. I know this has been a long video, but I wanted to cover as much as I could in this video. Have a lovely weekend, and I shall catch you in the next one. Bye for now.